The NFL offseason is ramping up, and we've already seen some pretty big trades go down. But Monday, March 9th, the legal tampering period opens up, which means players can start negotiating contracts with teams. Then on Wednesday, March 11th, the new league year begins, and all trades and free agency signings can officially go through. So here are my predictions for free agency. First off, Tyler Linderbaum. He's coming off 3 straight Pro Bowl seasons, and he's the best center in this free agency class. But it seems like his market value is going to get pretty high, with him projected to get over $20 million a year. So he would be essentially gaining the contract of a left tackle. For example, Dion Dawkins and Garrett Bowles are both making $20 million a year. Then Jordan Mailata's getting $22 million a year, and Laramie Tunsil's making $25 million a year. But right now, there are a lot of teams interested in him, and someone is going to pay him. And I have him signing with the Patriots. They just traded away their center to the Bears. The Patriots have a lot of cap space. Plus, Drake May is still on his rookie contract for the next few years, and so is their left tackle. So they're going to be able to pay Linderbaum for a few years, and it shouldn't be a problem. Then Jaelan Phillips, I have him returning back to the Eagles. I think it's going to be pretty important for them to re-sign him, since they did trade for him at the deadline and they gave up a 3rd round pick. And he also had a pretty good season, playing in all 17 games across both Miami and Philadelphia, and had 53 tackles with 5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. And with the Eagles having a lot of free agents, I think it's really important for them to keep him and keep that defense together. Then Rasheed Walker. Overall, he's been a very reliable left tackle for the Packers. He's played in all 17 games in the last 3 seasons, and in each of those seasons, he started at least 15 games, and he's one of the better pass blocking tackles in the league, ranking 11th in pass blocking win percentage last season, but he is a below average run blocking tackle. And he's projected to get over $20 million a year, and currently the favorite to get him is the Cleveland Browns, but I still don't know if he's going to sign there. But with the Browns going out and trading for Titus Howard, that gives them a lot more flexibility, since they also paid him $21 million a year. And I think there's a good chance the Browns will draft a left tackle in the 1st round this season. But another team I saw that his name was linked to was the Miami Dolphins, and I think that would be a really good fit for him. Then Odafe Oweh, I have him re-signing with the Chargers, and he's coming off back-to-back really good seasons. Back in 2024, he had 10 sacks with the Ravens, and then after being traded to the Chargers last season, he had 7.5 sacks. And he's still pretty young. He's going to be 28 next season, and I just think it's a really good fit for him in LA, so I have him staying. Then Deebo Samuel to the Steelers. He's going to be pretty affordable at $10 to $12 million a year. And he's just a good veteran and he's reliable. And if he's healthy, he's going to get you at least 800 yards from scrimmage. Like, he only has 1 season in his career, and it was 2020, where he only played 7 games, that he had under 800 yards from scrimmage. So I think he'd be a very good number 2 option for the Steelers. Then Quay Walker. He was recently released from the Packers, and I have him signing with the Raiders. With the Raiders in full rebuild mode, it's going to be important for them to get some young talent on that team, and he's only entering his age 26 season. And overall, he's just a good linebacker. He's had at least 100 tackles in every single season of his career, and in the last 3 seasons, he's had 2.5 sacks each year. Then Mike Evans, I have him returning back to the Buccaneers. He's entering his age 33-year-old season, and he's played all 12 seasons of his career on the Buccaneers, and I just don't see him going to another team. Then Kenneth Walker, he's coming off a great season with 1,000 yards rushing and 5 rushing touchdowns and winning Super Bowl MVP, and he is going to be on the open market after the Seahawks did not franchise tag him, and I have him signing with the Chiefs. Then Stefon Diggs, I have him signing with the Ravens. They have a history of signing former star receivers that are out of their prime, like they did with Odell Beckham Jr. and DeAndre Hopkins. And although Diggs is out of his prime, he still is coming off a very productive season, where he had 85 receptions and 1,000 yards for the Patriots. I still think he'd be a very good second option next to Zay Flowers. Then Devin Bush. The last 2 seasons, he's signed 1-year contracts with the Browns as prove-it deals, and he was pretty good in 2024, but 2025 he really broke out, having 125 tackles with 2 sacks and 3 interceptions, and 2 of those interceptions were pick sixes, and he also had 7 tackles for loss. But a large part of that is the Browns' defensive line is so good, and 2, they have one of the best linebacker coaches in the NFL with Jason Tarver. So he's going to get over $10 million this offseason, but I have him staying with the Browns. Then Elijah Vera Tucker, he still has a ton of upside. He was a former 14th overall pick by the Jets. And when he's healthy, he could be one of the best guards in the NFL, but that's been a real struggle for him. He missed the entire 2025 season. Then back in 2024, he played 15 games. Then in 2023, he played 5 games. And in 2022, he played 7 games. But I have him signed with the Cleveland Browns. They basically need to rebuild the entire offensive line this offseason, and he's a pretty low-risk, high-reward type player. They're going to be able to get him for around $10 million a year, and the upside could be one of the best guards in the league if he's healthy. Then former Cleveland Brown, David Njoku, he's already made it public that he will not be returning to the Browns, and I have him signing with the Buccaneers. He's already played 4 seasons with Baker Mayfield in his career, and the Buccaneers are going to need a tight end, so I think that's going to be a very good fit. Then Cameron Jordan, he was released by the Saints, and I have him signing with the Bears. He's still very productive even at the age of 37. He's coming off a 10.5 sack season, and he's one of the better defensive ends of this generation, so it'd be nice to see him go to a win-now team and compete for a championship in Chicago. Then Quincy Williams, I have him reuniting with Robert Saleh and going to the Tennessee Titans. Back in 2023 when Robert Saleh was the Jets coach, he was a first-team All-Pro linebacker, and right now the Titans really need a linebacker, and he's been really good under the Robert Saleh system. Then Jalen Watson, I have him returning back to the Chiefs. After they traded away Trent McDuffie, I can't see them losing both their top corners. Then Boye Mafe, I also have him going to the Chiefs. He's coming off a Super Bowl win with the Seahawks, and he did have a smaller role last season, playing in all 17 games, but just starting in 4. But he still had some pretty good production, having 31 tackles, 2 sacks, and 4 tackles for loss, and he is still just 27 years old, so I think he'd be a good addition to that Chiefs defense. Then Riq Woolen, I also have him leaving the Seahawks and going to the Jets. The Jets have a very big need at cornerback, especially after trading away Sauce Gardner. I think that'd be a really big addition to them, since they have 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years, so they wouldn't have to worry about drafting a number 1 corner, and they could really fill out their roster pretty quick within the next 2 years. Then John Franklin Myers, he's coming off a good season with Denver, where he had 7.5 sacks, and over the last 5 seasons, he's been very consistent. He's played at least 16 games in each season, and he's had at least 5 sacks in all those seasons except for one where he had 3.5. And I have him signing with the 49ers. They could use some help on that defensive line, and he's not going to break the bank. He's probably going to get around 12 to 15 million a year. Then Alontae Taylor to the Bears. He's been a very reliable corner over the last few years, and with the Bears clearing out a bunch of cap space, I think they're going to go all in on the defense this season. And he's coming off a very good season with 83 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 interceptions. Then Kevin Byard, I have him returning to the Bears. Last season, he had a resurgence in his career and went out and led the NFL in interceptions with 7 and was a Pro Bowler and a first-team All-Pro. Then Leo Chenal to the Broncos. Last season, the Broncos had one of the best defenses in the NFL, but they could use some help at linebacker, and I think he would be a very good addition to that team. Then Kobe Bryant, I have him returning to the Seahawks. With the Seahawks having so many key free agents on defense, I think it'll be important for them to keep someone, and I think that would be Kobe Bryant. He's entering his age 27-year-old season, and he's coming off back-to-back great seasons where he had 3 interceptions in 2024 and 4 interceptions last season. Then I also have the Seahawks going out and getting Nahshon Wright to replace Riq Woolen. He's coming off a Pro Bowl season where he had 80 tackles and 5 interceptions, and entering next season, he's still going to be 27. Then Romeo Doubs, I have him going to the Cleveland Browns. Throughout his career, he's been very consistent. Over the last 3 seasons, he's had at least 600 yards, and also last season he had 720 receiving yards. I think he could be a really good 3rd or 4th option for the Browns, behind Jerry Jeudy, Harold Fannin, and probably a rookie wide receiver. Then I also have the Browns going out and getting Isaiah Likely as their 2nd-string tight end. Over the last 3 seasons, he's been really good in the Todd Monken system, and I think he could follow him to Cleveland. Then Devin Lloyd, he's coming off a career season where he had 80 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 5 interceptions, and was a second team All Pro. And I have him signing with the Panthers. They're coming off a very surprising season where they snuck into the playoffs at 8-9, and they could really use some help at linebacker. Then I have Rashid Shaheed signing with the Jets. I think he'd be a pretty good number 2 receiver next to Garrett Wilson. I think the Jets just need to really raise their floor in free agency, and then they have all that draft capital. Then I also have the Jets going out and getting their bridge quarterback with Kirk Cousins, but overall I think the Jets are just going to miss out on Malik Willis and Kyler Murray, and I think Cousins can still be a pretty good option for them. And speaking of that, next I have Kyler Murray, and there's going to be a ton of teams after him this offseason. Not only is he the best quarterback on the market, he's also going to be playing for the league minimum next season, which is $1.2 million, since the Cardinals released him and they have to pay him $36 million, and whatever his new team pays him will be subtracted from that $36 million. So teams aren't going to give him more than the league minimum because the Cardinals are just going to pay his salary. And right now I'm thinking there's going to be around 7 to 8 teams after him. And right now he is projected to sign with the Vikings, since they're a win-now team, and it looks like they're just a quarterback away, potentially. But I think he's going to sign with the Cleveland Browns, since the Browns have already a top 5 defense in the NFL, and he also perfectly fits the Todd Monken scheme with being that dual-threat quarterback. Like, Monken has already stated multiple times that he loves quarterbacks that are mobile, and seeing what he's done the last 3 seasons with Lamar Jackson, and I think that could be a really enticing landing spot for him. Then Malik Willis, he's going to be the second best quarterback on the market this season, but it is more of a higher risk move for teams, since over the last 2 seasons, he's really only started 4 games, and all 4 of those games he was really good, but it's still just a very small sample size. Like, if he put that together for a full 15 games, he would be getting over $50 million a season, but he's projected to get anywhere from $20 to $30 million this offseason, but I have him signing with the Cardinals. Then Geno Smith, I have him signing with the Vikings. He's coming off a really bad season with the Raiders, where he led the NFL in interceptions. But I also think a lot of his problems came last year from being on the Raiders. They were just a very bad team. So I think he would just be a pretty good veteran option for them. Then Tyreek Hill, he's coming off that major knee injury, and it's not guaranteed that he's the same caliber player, but I have him signing with the Chargers. If he can get back to being the Tyreek Hill we all know, that could be a huge improvement to that offense, and that also could be one of the best offenses in the entire NFL, with Justin Herbert, Tyreek Hill, Ladd McConkey, and at running back Omarion Hampton. Then Reed Blankenship, I have going to the Commanders. Overall, Washington doesn't have a great defense, and with Jaden Daniels on that rookie contract, I think they should just go all in on defense, and they could really use a safety. Then Joey Bosa, I have him going to the Lions. I don't think the Lions can go out and get one of those premier pass rushers. Like, they already missed out on Max Crosby, and I don't think they're going to be able to get Trey Hendrickson. But I think that could be a really good defensive line with Joey Bosa and Aiden Hutchinson. Then Alec Pierce, he's the number 1 receiver on the market this season, and he's still very young, entering his age 26 season. He's the best deep ball receiver in the league. He's led the NFL in back-to-back seasons in yards per reception. In 2024, he had 22.3 yards per reception, and last season he had 21.3 yards per reception. And he's coming off his first career 1,000-yard season, where he had 47 receptions for 1,000 yards. And if he goes to a team where he's the number 1 option and gets 80 to 100 receptions, he can legit be a 1,500-yard receiver, and he's projected to get paid like one. Right now he's projected to get around $27 million a year, and I have him going to the Patriots. He's a great deep threat, and Drake May loves throwing deep, so I could see them being one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the league. Then I also have the Patriots going out and getting Chig Okonkwo. I think that could be a pretty good upgrade at tight end. Then finally, Trey Hendrickson. ESPN has him ranked as the number 1 free agent in this class. And yes, he's coming off a very weird and down season. Like, he was holding out in the beginning of the year and requested a trade. And then eventually during the season, he got injured and only ended up playing 7 games. But back in 2023 and 2024, he had back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. And he is a premier pass rusher in the league. And I kept going back and forth on who I thought he was going to go to. And the final two teams I think he's going to end up on is the Cowboys and the Bears. And ultimately, I have him going to the Cowboys. Last season, the Cowboys had one of the best offenses in the NFL, but their defense was just flat out bad. And I think it's going to be huge for them to go out and get a star defensive end. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Goodbye.